Kirby, everyone's favorite circle. Kirby, everyone's second favorite circle. I mean, look at him, how could you hate this guy? His games are well known for being simple enough for kids to understand, while still being complex and entertaining enough for all ages to enjoy, which is the philosophy the entire series was built on, beginning with Kirby's Dreamland in 1992, exclusively for the Game Boy. I was originally going to just review Kirby's Dreamland in this video, but if you've played Kirby's Dreamland, you know that it's a very short game, and my videos are usually on the shorter side as is, so I decided to also play its pseudo-sequel, Kirby's Adventure. That's right, baby, we got our first RAMJAM double feature. Okay, those were technically triple. Just like Sonic 1, Kirby's Dreamland has a very simple story compared to later entries in its franchise. The game, as the name suggests, takes place in Dreamland, your typical peaceful sunshine and rainbows kingdom, but this happy place is about to land itself into a big crisis. King DDD leads a band of thieves to steal all of Dreamland's food, and since they kinda need that to live, Kirby offers to help get the food back from him, but he'll have to go through a troublesome journey of 5 levels. Yeah, when I said this game is short, I meant short. There's only 5 levels, and one of those 5 is a boss rush, so does it really count? Kirby feels a lot more basic to play as compared to later games. He can't run, just walk, and he doesn't have any of the copy abilities from later games. There's an invincibility power-up, a mic power-up, and this flying power-up, but that's about it, and they only ever come up 1 or 2 times each in the entire game due to how short it is. Besides that, he plays exactly how you'd expect. He can fly into the air, suck up and spit out enemies, and do this weird thing where he lets out some of his breath and it can destroy certain hazards. Is it really that bad? I mean, he eats all the time, I shouldn't be surprised. Besides that, it's just a solid platformer. I really don't have much to say. The worst thing I could find in my brain is that there's some annoying sections. Not anything like, oh my god, this game's so hard. Just something like, I hit the B button, why didn't I swallow him? Like I said earlier, the game ends with a boss fight where you fight all of your previous opponents, followed by a fight against King DDD. His boss fight is probably the weakest one. Not because it's bad, but because the only way to defeat DDD is to hit him with these stars, and I feel like sometimes they aren't on screen long enough. I am really grasping at straws right now. Imagine how short this video would have been if I only covered this game. Kirby defeats DDD, imagine saying that 5 times fast, and returns all of Dreamland's stolen food. Kirby's Dreamland is a short and sweet platformer. Nothing groundbreaking, and like I said in my Sonic 1 video, I wouldn't recommend it as your first Kirby game unless you really want to see where it all began, but if you have 30 minutes, try it. You'll have a solid time. Now the next game, I think, is a perfect introduction to Kirby. Kirby's Adventure picks up right where Kirby's Dreamland left off. These two hate each other. The story of the game involves the Dream Spring, a spring responsible for giving the citizens of Dreamland their dreams. The spring is powered by the Star Rod, which DDD steals, of course, and splits into 7 different pieces which he gives to his goons, giving everyone in Dreamland constant nightmares, including Kirby, who decides to go after DDD and restore the well. Now it's time to begin the game, and we have to go through 7 worlds. This can't be right. This is like an actual video game. Each world has about 5 levels, a boss fight, and completely new to this game are these rooms that give the player access to a couple of different side games. There's a museum that allows Kirby to swallow 2 different types of copy abilities, these arenas against a boss that, after being defeated, allow you to swallow them to get their copy ability, as well as mini games that can get Kirby a bunch of points and extra lives. Back to the game's main levels, they're basically more of what Kirby's Dreamland was, but a lot better. The first major difference being the copy abilities, which I briefly mentioned earlier. Kirby can suck up enemies just like in the last game, but in addition to spitting them out as a projectile, he can also swallow them by pushing down, which gives Kirby an ability from that enemy, kinda like the Mega Man games. Swallowing an enemy with a sword gives Kirby a sword, swallowing a rock enemy allows Kirby to transform into a rock. Fire enemies cause Kirby to do this fire attack that launches him forward, and bomb enemies allow him to perform a screen nuke, etc, etc. They're not all winners. I found the backdrop and throw abilities to be kinda worthless, but overall I found the copy ability to be a really great addition to Kirby's gameplay. There's a reason it's been in nearly every Kirby game since. A few other small improvements to the game include the fact that it's in color. He's pink. You guys messed up. It's not perfect. I found some characters like DDD to be half-assed, like they just took the old Game Boy sprites, slapped a little color on it, and called it a day, but I'm fine with it. It was probably just the limitations of the NES. I know that it couldn't display a lot of colors. Another improvement is that double tapping either left or right makes Kirby start booking it in that direction, which makes Kirby feel more fun to play as. Due to the NES, the system this game released for, having a larger aspect ratio, there's also more screen real estate, which also makes playing the game more fun. There really aren't a whole lot of negative things to say about this game. The only two that come to mind would be the input lag and slowdown. There's a small amount of input lag between the different moves that Kirby does, which makes it pretty easy to get hit at times, which is kinda annoying. But you can get adjusted to it with time. The extended aspect ratio of the NES also makes it easier for slowdown to happen when too much stuff is on screen, which is kind of annoying, but once again, you can get used to it. Ooh, and some of the boss fights I found to kinda suck. Mostly the ones where if Kirby got a little too close to them, they'd body him. I guess some people can hate this guy after all. One of the boss fights that I found to be a miss sadly was the final boss fight. First phase. So, Kirby defeats DDD, and with the repaired Star Rod, places it on the Dream Spring, unleashing Nightmare. A really evil guy. He looks like Drax's dad from Hotel Transylvania. Apparently this is why DDD stole the Star Rod, not to screw everyone over, but to prevent Nightmare from corrupting the spring and getting out. Good job! You did something good for once! With this, it's final boss time. Like I said, Phase 1 is pretty bad. It's just a shooter section where you have to shoot him while avoiding his attacks, which wouldn't be a problem, but they put you under a strict time limit to finish it, and if you fail... And it's not like this is easy like the rest of the game. For whatever reason, this was the hardest part. The only way I was able to defeat him was by turning on turbo on my emulator, and even then, it was still kinda hard for me. Skill issue, I guess. But I did find Phase 2 to be a much more fair challenge. Remove Phase 1 and you actually have a pretty solid final boss. Kirby defeats him, accidentally blowing up a piece of the moon, and returning the Star Rod to the now uncorrupted Dream Spring, ending the game. Overall, a major improvement over Kirby's Dreamland. They are seriously night and day. 9 out of 10. I don't know what I'd give Kirby's Dreamland. It's so short that I don't think it'd be fair to give it a score. On the one hand, I could give it a high score that it doesn't deserve since it's so short and doesn't have a lot of content, but then I look like a douchebag with really high standards if I give it a low one. The game is good, that's all I can really say. I think this little double feature just shows how weird Kirby started out. You hear a lot of people talk about franchises like Sonic, Mario, or Crash, and say how the sequels to those games were so much better that it makes the first game look like child's play. Like comparing a gourmet burger to baby food. And I feel like this for Kirby as well, just a million times worse. We went from a stupid easy but fun Game Boy game that could be beaten in less than 30 minutes to a really damn good late NES platformer. And as you'd expect with a Nintendo IP, things only got better from here. Like and subscribe, over 90% of you aren't, and I'd really like it if you did. And have a good one. This is RAMJAM, signing off.